Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. Looking at a earthquake swarm, a major swarm, 250 miles off the coast of Oregon. Largest coming in at a 5.8 magnitude. All of these earthquakes are very shallow. In fact, they're all coming in at 10 kilometers deep. You can see the long list of earthquakes over here on the left. Multiple fours. In fact, there's been a large amount of fours in the 4 to 4.2 range, 4.4, 4.3, 4.5, 4.9, multiple 5.5s, the largest being a 5.8, and that earthquake, along with the 5.5, came with a tsunami alert because they were so shallow. Multiple 5.8s, multiple 5.5s, and they persist even right now as I do this video. This is part of the Cascadia subduction zone, and this is connected all the way down into the San Andreas fault line. So we're keeping a close eye on this area as there's been a large ongoing swarm in the last 24 hours. This is a major event, and the earthquakes aren't just isolated to here. Even though they're not related to the swarm, there's been a 4.3 earthquake in central Kansas. Super shallow, coming in at 1.5 miles deep, and this just occurred today, also on 12/8 of 2021. Also got an earthquake up here in northwestern Louisiana. Are you serious? That's a 2.1, small earthquake, but nevertheless, you hardly ever hear of earthquakes in northwestern Louisiana. Got one up here off the coast of Maine, coming in at 2.6. Again, very shallow, 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles deep. That was yesterday on the 7th. So we're seeing a lot of earthquake activity, especially off the coast of Oregon, where there's been over 55 earthquakes right now as I do this video and counting. Looking at the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, you can see it's also monitoring the swarm and the activity over in Washington. I can remember a time when it was rare to see an earthquake in the Seattle area. Look at how much this has increased just in the last year. I can remember 5 years ago looking at this map and the USGS map as well. There weren't earthquakes up in the Seattle area. If there were, they were quite rare. And you can see a pattern here forming from northern Montana down through the supervolcano, through Salt Lake City, through Nevada, down into Southern California, where there's always been earthquakes down in here, but you can see they're becoming more and more prominent, going up the coast of California, up coastal Oregon, and then up into the coast of Washington. And I'm pretty sure some of these earthquakes extend up into British Columbia. Right now, a major event underway off the coast of Oregon. Multiple earthquakes coming in at the same depth, all around 10 kilometers deep, some a little less deep, coming in at 6.3, 6.7, sitting 250 miles off the coast of Oregon. So we're going to keep a close eye on this area today, and hopefully there won't be any larger than a 5.8. But right now there's been two 5.8s in the last 24 hours. Coming over here to the National Data Buoy Center, you can see the buoys in the area. The red buoys are inactive and have been inactive for quite some time. The yellow buoys are active buoys, and right now there are no buoys in event mode, which is a good thing. If they were in event mode, if they had detected some sort of tsunami activity, they would be flashing yellow. And right now, none of these buoys are flashing yellow. In fact, they all look normal, except for the ones that are offline. And they've been like that for years. I don't know why they're like that. They just don't work, or they're not sending and receiving data. The yellow ones are active though, and you can see there's some very close to the earthquake swarm. And as of right now, no buoys in the area that are showing any type of at least significant tsunami activity. Coming over here to the website, we do have a power outage up in the Pacific Northwest in the state of Washington. Right now there's over 16,000 customers without electricity right now as I do this video. Looking at the Schumann resonance, you can see it's been very active in the last 72 hours. Very strong spike right there about 12 hours ago. It's not related to the sun. In fact, solar activity is very low, looking at the GOES X-ray flux over the last 72 hours as well, but that could change at any moment. Hopping over to the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, looking at the seismographs that monitor the mighty supervolcano, you can definitely see some earthquake activity today, but we know the source of that earthquake activity. That's coming from the ongoing swarm off of the coast of Oregon. Yellowstone Yellowstone supervolcano sits right over here, directly parallel from the ongoing earthquake swarm. So that activity is definitely being picked up by the seismographs, multiple seismographs over here at the supervolcano caldera. And looking at the global seismic network over here at the USGS, you can see a lot of activity on these seismographs. The majority of this activity is from the earthquake swarm. Here's a seismograph in Corvallis, Oregon, and you can see it's been very active in the last 24 hours, definitely coinciding with the major event that's occurring offshore, about 250 miles offshore. Scrolling down, looking at the other seismos across the United States, you can see the ones here in Idaho and Wyoming, very active due to the ongoing swarm. Even over here in New Hampshire, a few thousand miles away, the energy, the primary waves are being picked up on seismographs in New Hampshire, in Maine, in New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Michigan, Ohio, all across the board. All of these seismographs are showing the energy from these very strong and shallow earthquakes. If they weren't so shallow, you probably wouldn't see that much activity over here on these seismographs. You can see this one here in Pearl Lake, Idaho. Those are jet black, very strong signatures rolling through Idaho. But again, if they weren't shallow, you wouldn't see as much activity. But these are very shallow earthquakes. And zooming in closer, we'll get an exact count of the swarm. Right now, 58 and counting as I do this video. So we're going to be watching that super close as there's an ongoing major event off the coast of Oregon. I want to touch base on a recent Quake Watch I did back in November. I put out a Quake Watch from the 7th of November through the 14th, and that was based off of planetary position. And I want to talk a little bit more about that because I had a viewer leave a comment by the name of Carmen, and she goes on to say, I'm sure you'll get to it, but I have to mention your earthquake prediction due to the alignment happened just a week later than you thought, a 7.5 in Peru on Sunday. Well, it was actually 2 weeks later, and I want to show you guys why it was 2 weeks later, or at least why I think it was 2 weeks later. When I see certain planetary arrangements, and it's not just as simple as seeing a row of planets in a nice straight line. In my mind and the research that I've done, going back as far as I could go, looking at historical records, I've found way more than a coincidence with regard to certain planetary arrangements, not necessarily straight lines, and earthquakes on Earth. And they always involve a certain planetary arrangement and the gas giants. And this is where the gas giants were when I did my earthquake watch back in November. The one in line with what I was seeing with regard to the interior planets was Uranus, way out here. Jupiter and Saturn weren't in play at the time. They're in play now. But what I think happened was during this quake watch back in November, there were 4 earthquakes over 6.0 magnitude. I think one was a 6.5, but it was just mainly the interior planets. There was no influence by the gas giants. And usually, almost in every case, it requires the influence of gas giants like you see here today. Look at the Earth, look at Venus, and then you have Saturn. Again, it's not necessarily a straight line. It's the angular momentum of the Earth and the momentum of the planets that they're interacting with. These planets sense each other. Look at them as charged particles out here. And if you look at the big picture and you zoom out, these planets are very close together when you consider the overall big picture. And these planets have energy. They contain energy, just like the Earth. All these satellites that orbit the Earth, once they get above the Earth's gravity, they orbit the Earth because of that strong energy. Because once these objects go up into orbit and they escape the Earth's gravity, there's a very strong flow of energy around the Earth. And not only the Earth, but these other planets as well. Look at it like angular momentum, the energy coming around. All of the planets have it. These planets on the interior are solids. The gas giants are, they say gas giants, but I think there's a little more to them than just gas. I think they have some sort of a core, and that means all of the known gas giants, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus. And in this case today, you're looking at Earth, Venus, and Saturn. And Jupiter's probably having an influence as well, but definitely Saturn, Venus, and the Earth. And that's what's going on, I believe, here today, even though there's no large earthquakes, and we don't want any large earthquakes, but that could have influenced the swarm we're seeing right now. But back to my earthquake watch back in November the 7th through the 14th, did not include a gas giant. and normally there needs to be a gas giant in play if there's going to be a large earthquake. But the problem with this is you don't know where the earthquake is going to occur, and it's not guaranteed anyway. But I have found through a lot of extensive research, going back as far as historical records will allow me to go, I found way more than a coincidence with regard to planetary arrangements and large earthquakes on Earth. And with regard to my earthquake watch, it involved the interior planets that, again, weren't just in a straight line. It involved that strong angular momentum, at least that's what I call it. These planets rotate, and there is a strong presence there. You can't see it, but it's there, especially with these magnetized planets, but they're always influenced by the gas giants. So that could be what we're seeing here today. Not 100% sure because it's not 100% guaranteed, but I have found over the years that it's way more than just a coincidence with regard to planetary arrangement and large earthquakes on planet Earth. Don't forget to order your brand new 2022 Sky Phenomena Photo Calendar. 2022 is right around the corner. Click on this banner here. It will take you to this website. You can order a wall calendar you see right here, high quality wall calendar at that, or if you would prefer a desktop calendar, scroll down to about halfway down the page and you'll see a option for a desktop calendar. You can order that one as well. Again, simply click on this banner. It will bring you here and they'll mail the calendar directly to your home. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.